We are going to be doing a session this afternoon on 5 strategies to increase sales. I'm just checking the streams are all kicking in okay across social media. Doing this a little bit different today. I'm doing it from my desk, which is a bit unusual, but I'm here and just checking the stream. So if you're joining in, don't stress so much. We'll be live in 1 second. Just checking all the live streams are working across social media. And yeah, we're here, and I heard myself on the live stream. So if you're joining us today, do let me know in the chat that you're here. And we're going to look at 5 strategies you can employ to increase sales, full practical stuff. And wherever you're watching, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, email, wherever it is you're watching, there should be a chat feature somewhere by where you can say where you're from, where you're joining from, and I can see Chris is seeing me, so that's all good there. So yeah, hello from Portsmouth, Chris. Some people are joining from Facebook there, some people from YouTube, which is awesome. So what we're going to look at in this session is literally some very practical stuff. I often find that people basically all gets overcomplicated. So I'm going to break down some really simple stuff. And if there's time, I'll show you some practical applications of how you can do it. And I can't see your name, whoever said hello on YouTube, but brilliant to have you. Okay, so first things first, if you've never joined these sessions, this is just the outline of what I want to talk about today, and just the goal of it, the success of how I would measure it is I'm going to give you 5 strategies you can implement immediately to generate leads and sales. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Dean Seddon. I'm the founder of Maverick, and you can kind of hunt me down on LinkedIn if you want to. I'll put my LinkedIn details up there, so you can find me as well if you want to come and find me. So that's me. So this is what we're going to look at. If there's time, by the way, I will also offer some Q&A at the end. So if you've got some questions, you can, I'm just replying to somebody's chat at the same time. If you've got questions, you can literally just ask them and we will share them. I will put an email address on screen because we have this free resource we're giving away, which is it's completely free. There's no catch with it. And if you want a copy of it, there's the email on screen. So it's london@maverick.io. And if you want a copy of the resource, it's available for you today. So if you want a copy of this book, PDF, email us to the address on screen, london@maverick.io, and we will send it to you as soon as we wrap up today. So hopefully people are starting to join. Forward thinking, yes, we can send the recording. Hi, Carl from Kettering. Anthony, long time no see. Yes, so we are going to dig into this, and I feel free, by the way. The more you get from this session is if you ask questions and you go, Dean, what do you mean? I'm terrible for doing rhymes, but Dean, what do you mean? Can you explain how this would work for me in this situation? Please feel free. And whether you're commenting on LinkedIn, you're commenting on Facebook or YouTube or wherever it is you're commenting from, I can see them all, albeit you can't all see each other's. And I'll answer your questions as you go. So the first thing I want to tackle here is what we call hyper-personalized email. And forward thinking from Tel Aviv. I've not been to Tel Aviv in a long time. Got sidetracked there. Hyper-personalized email. What do I mean by hyper-personalized email? Let me share what I mean when I'm talking about hyper-personalized email. What we see today is a lot of people using generic templates and sending them at scale. That is not hyper-personalized emails. The other type of hyper-personalized email is not me holding a coffee cup waving at you as a GIF. That's not a hyper-personalized email. The reason being is there's no research, What you're doing is trying to use technology to try and look personalized. Let me just ask a question, and hopefully some of you will get me here, because I got no problem with reaching out via email. I've got a problem with the lazy reaching out by email. How many of you in the last week have had what looks like an automated generic sales pitch email? Anybody want to wave their hand? I get them every single day. Every single day I get them. Anybody else get them? Hopefully you do. Otherwise you'll say, no, I don't get them. I'm like, what planet are you on? They happen all the time. We get tons of them. Hi, Dean, just following up. No, you're not. You've got a piece of tech doing that. Now, here's the problem. We can spot them. Yeah, Chris, we can spot automated emails because, and this is the hard bit of automation, maybe when the robots take over, when AI and all of that stuff gets smarter, yeah, maybe this will solve itself. But there's this kind of weird mix of, it's generic enough to have personalizational fields, but it's not quite personalized enough. And so we spot little things like, people say it's great work what you're doing at Maverick. And when they write Maverick, they write it with the R symbol off it. Yeah. Or the context. It's great to be connected to people in the sales and marketing industry. And it's like, we don't talk like that. Yeah. These emails they're just clunky. And what they rely on is somebody's eventually going to bite, because if we send enough and we send enough follow-ups, somebody's bound to bite. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is something like this. And I'll just give you an example. So hopefully I don't mess up my browsers here, right? So let's say, for an example, I wanted to reach out to Terry Heath, who's Simon Miles. Simon Miles is our managing director at our London office. And let's say I want to reach out to Simon Miles, right? So Simon's my customer, and I'm going to go, okay, Simon, we're connected. How can I start a conversation, right? Hyper-personalized email could be, actually, I want to talk to Simon about the accelerator program. What's this accelerator program? It looks really good. So I might engage with Simon, and then, you know, what I might do, I might drop him an email, and I'm just going to give you an example because I think it's always good when you do practical examples. So I might go, Simon, okay, I've engaged with Simon on LinkedIn. I've done all of that stuff. So I go, hi, Simon. Hi, Simon. I was looking at your posts on LinkedIn today, and I might do a whole little conversation with Simon and then say, would love to have a chat with you, and maybe I'd do some research, but I'd focus in and target Simon in a really personalized way. So I've seen this done where I've written reports where I've gone, I can see from what's going on in your business, there's loads of these exciting opportunities ahead of you. And I'll talk to them about things because it's hyper personalized. I'll even do a PowerPoint display for one company, a PowerPoint presentation for one company, because I want to put the time in. And the conversion on that is like 25 to 30%. 25 to 30% conversion on one email. And I'll get through, we have somebody who does it in the team, 12 emails gets me 4 solid appointments with prospects because I've done the good work. So 2.5 to 3 to 4 appointments just from doing that work and putting the research in. Meanwhile, somebody's gathering loads of data, genericizing it enough to get away with personalization, putting the weird, which I think is really weird and a little unprofessional, those kind of like, and I'll put your name on the mug. I just think it's a little strange. It does, you know, if you're trying to sell a serious service, yes, we have to use tactics to get attention, but not undermine our credibility at the same time. Yeah. So hyper-personalized email. It's different from what we'd call classic cold email. It has a 10 times more effective open and reply rate than classic cold email. It helps you shorten the deal conversion time because you are speaking to their need early on. You don't need automation. You can do 10 to 12 emails per day, do the research, do the work, and follow through. It works hands down. And we teach companies and teams, sales teams, how to implement this so that they're successful. And it's brilliant for what you class as high value sales or high value prospects. If you're selling a 500 quid thing, and a lot of people here won't be, but if you're selling a 500 quid thing, and I'm just going to say it as I see it, you might be happy with this kind of success. If you're selling something and your market is like 30,000 potential customers, you might be happy burning through 30,000 outreach messages to get 120 sales. That's what the industry average is, 30,000 prospects to 120 sales. 120 sales might be perfect for you. But the reality is, if you're trying to sell something for like 50 grand, 100 grand, £1 million, is it a smart move to genericize your messages? It doesn't make any sense. You think about it, and I know we're playing with numbers here, but we'll just play with numbers for a minute. If I can get, that's 0.1%. So the success rate of that activity there is 0.1%. Yeah. So, 0.4, 1,000 prospects to 4 sales, 0.4% success. Everybody still with me here? I haven't put you to sleep yet, right? 0.4% success. So let's say we try and scale that to get 100 clients. How much do you need? Well, like 25,000 prospects. It's like, really? So let's think about it a different way. If I spend the time researching the company, I'm never going to be 100% successful, but let's just say I'm 10% successful. 10%. So if we think about this, 10% success, instead of 0.4, it's 10%, right? So I do the research, I spend time, and I craft each email manually. And some of you are going, I'm not doing that. Well, just to bear me out. To get 100 clients, sorry, let's do 10. To get 10 clients, I'd have to send 2,500 emails. 2,500 emails. Okay. If I can do hyper-personalized, yes, I'll have to invest a bit more time, but if I can do hyper-personalized emails, particularly if I coupled it with social selling, the success rate goes up even more. If I can do that, actually 10% is I have to reach out to 100 prospects. So if I've got a market of 1,000 prospects and I'm getting 10 clients per 100, that means I get 100 clients from 1,000 emails. Now, it'd take you a long time to do 1,000 emails, but the ROI on it is massively better. Why do people not do this? I'll tell you why people don't do it. It's work. That's it. It's work. And there's almost a fear that if I spend time on this one lead and it doesn't work, I'm screwed. So we don't want to risk spending time on one prospect, because what if they say no? And so we spend less time on the prospect and more of them say no or ignore you. So hyper-personalized email, manual, you might send 10 emails and get 2 good ones. But let's say it's 10 emails and get 1 good one. The ROI is hands down better. It's a better use of your time. It's a better, more efficient outcome. What we do is we trade off how long will it take me to send 100 emails and how long will that take it? Oh, that's an efficient use of my time. But if You sending it manually will get you 10 clients, and this one will get you 4. It's hands down better to do it manually. We have this false economy that it's more efficient to automate, and it isn't. It really isn't. So hyper-personalized email is very, very effective. Now, this other one here, webinars, some people will say webinars have been done to death. And during the pandemic and even now, I would agree with you to an extent, except for what we're seeing is lots of educational webinars are really effective to help build your brand, but also create conversation, to create that, to break that barrier between you and a prospect. So right now I'm working with, our company's working with about 50 companies, 40, 50 companies, I'm not sure the count. And we are helping them fill their webinars with their prospects using social media, using social selling, no ads. And right now as I speak, one of our clients is doing a webinar live. They have 800 registrations, and they're not, prolific social media users. We've helped them build that, and they've done 3 in 3 months. And each time they're getting hundreds and hundreds of target clients, getting to know them, and there's a whole follow-up process over the back of it. So why would you consider doing this? Well, the first thing is, it's not just about doing an event or a webinar about a topic you decide. It's about, hi, Steve. Hi, Hanuma. Hi, Anna. Hi, Samuel. Some people joining a little bit late, or at least the chat's a little bit delayed. If you do the webinar right, what you can do is attract people who have a need. So as I say, what do you define as a potential, as a lead? It's somebody who's interested, somebody in your target audience, somebody who's has a need for what you sell and has the ability to pay for it. That's what I define as a lead. They're in your target audience, they have a need for what you sell, and they have the ability to pay for what you sell. So for you to get a webinar that's a successful sales tool, you really have to have people attend who have a need. If I have a brilliant piece of tech and I say, here's a webinar to look at this cool piece of tech, people will come, but it doesn't mean that they will need that tech. It doesn't mean that they will want that tech. It just means they're coming to look at a shiny object. And I'm being crude just to make the point. They're just coming to look at a shiny object. So you'll always get some of those people, but designing the webinar in the right way around the pain points means that people who disagree to come are signaling to you, as we call it, an intent threshold. They're signaling to you, I have a need. And so your webinar is not about the shiny piece of tech. It's about speaking to the needs of that business or those businesses that you serve, that your service, your solution, your tech, your product can fix or help resolve those issues. But often what we do is we try and lead with the cool stuff, the features. If you're a salesperson, we lead with the features, not with the pains. So if you do a webinar well, if you construct them well, you can attract people who have a need. The other thing that's useful is when somebody comes onto a webinar, if you help them understand something better, and hopefully I passed the test on this today, if you help somebody understand something better, you gain credibility in their mind and perception. If you help somebody understand something better, they go away going, that was really useful. So in other words, value. And they also go, that person was really helpful. Their knowledge was helpful. So that elevates you, even just marginally, but it elevates you. It helps you reach a wider audience. What do I mean by that? Well, a webinar can either be, and I'm not talking about QVC kind of, we've got 5 left, all of this kind of stuff. Once it's gone, it's gone. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about educational webinars where you're adding value. you reach a much broader audience. So some of you will have prospects here that are not in a place to buy, but you want to get yourself into their world. You might have a prospect list that in 6 months' time, in Q4, these are the people I've got to be converting. It might be, for an example, you've already spoken to some prospects and they say, come back to me in Q3. Now, salespeople here, if a prospect says to you, come back in Q3, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep checking in with them when they've told you come back in Q3? Well, we know that in Q3, they'll have forgotten all about us. They won't know who we are and they can't remember it. And it's like back to square one. So we have this dilemma. We can't keep chasing them because they've told us come back in Q3. But we know that if we just leave them alone, they'll probably do a deal without us or don't even consider us. So we've got this dilemma where we annoy the prospect if we keep pushing them. And if we go silent or leave them alone, we don't. Webinars. Getting your prospects, even if they're not interested, to a webinar, inviting them is a low-key way to give another touch point where you or a product manager or anybody in your team is presenting. You're planting the message. We're experts, we're credible, and we understand the challenges of your business because our webinars are not geared to our sexy bit of tech. It's not geared to how amazing our product is. It's not a case study presented as educational. It's actually speaking genuinely to their needs, to their challenges as a business, obviously related to what you sell, but you're adding a lot of value. So you can create lots of touch points, even down to, and I'll come back to this, you don't need ads for this, by the way. The event platforms on social media can do it all for you. There's a bit of work, like with anything, but the payoff is brilliant. So you build the webinar deliberately so you can prompt conversations. So I'm going to share that resource. So that resource here, the PDF of explaining this in a bit more detail, you can email our London office and they will send you a copy of this resource. Simple. They'll send it to you. So you can email us and we'll send it to you. And our team will follow up and say, here you go, here's the PDF. Do you want to chat? Do you want to talk about some of these things? Are you looking to do webinars? Do you want some help with it? And a percentage of people say, yeah, I'll talk to you. So in your sales pipeline, you can use webinars to nurture prospects where they've said, come back in Q3. You can use it to develop a relationship with people because you can follow up off the back of it. But also you can build this wider awareness because we all know it takes multiple touch points to develop an opportunity. It's not just one. It's multiple touch points that gets that prospect to engage. Christos, if you don't have a webinar, is it advisable to send them once a month a useful tip or article related to their pain point? Christos, I'm going to come to that in a second because there's another method of this. And all of these tools can either be used to nurture or they can be used to develop new opportunities. So I'll give you an example. Today, I've been sharing a resource that I've written with some of my network on LinkedIn. Yes, london@maverick.io for the PDF, Rodion. That's it, london@maverick.io. So it's on the screen. Email it. I'll put it up again in a second. Today, I've been dropping messages to people I've been engaging with on LinkedIn. And I've not been trying to sell. I've given them a resource that I've written. And to some people who are selling expertise, I'll just chip in here because there's a big myth I want to burst. So I've written a PDF, right? And in that PDF, I call it the 100K PDF. Now I've written this 100K PDF and it explains how I've made £100,000 in sales just from sending one PDF. It's actually more than that, but I've used the number 100K because I think if somebody uses it in a year, if they're a small, tiny business, they could do it. And actually, if they were a salesperson selling enterprise level, they could comfortably do it in one hit in 1 month. So that's why I picked the 100K. It's actually way more than that. And I've wrote how this PDF can make them 100 grand. And I'm not talking about, funny money or starting a new business, I'm talking about as a sales tool. One PDF can be a sales tool to generate the leads and get the appointments that many people miss. And I'm sending it to people today on my network that I've been engaging with. And if they bite on it because it appeals to their pain point, guess what? I'll follow up with them. How did you find it? Are you going to do your own PDF? Because it could help you. It could help you get leads. Why would I give people a step-by-step guide? Why would I do all of this stuff? Given what Maverick does is training and supporting businesses in these methodologies, why would I give step-by-step stuff away? And a lot of expertise-driven businesses stress about this. And I'll tell you, I will get to my next point in a second. A lot of expertise businesses stress about this. And they stress about it simply because they're worried that if they give too much information away, people will go away and do it themselves. Reality check. People will. Yeah, that's just how it works. The question is, right, and I'll use do you want to hide your lamp under a bushel? Do you want to hide your expertise for fear that somebody will steal it? Or do you want to show it to the world so it will attract people who value it? So let me give you an example. My 100K PDF, I know for a fact that some competitors are going to make their own version. I know some people are going to download it and go and do it themselves and have success. I know some people are going to download it and do nothing with it. And I know some people are going to download it, try and DIY it and struggle. And some people will come back to me and say, can you help me with this? The people who DIY it and struggle will come back. The people who DIY and fail, succeed, or whatever, they don't need me or won't pay for me. So I'm not going to stress about them, because if they get success from what I do, they'll be my biggest brand advocates. The people who fail at it, struggle at it, or don't implement it, they're the people I can add value to. Can't add value to somebody who wants to do it themselves. And if they're hardwired, I'm doing it myself. No amount of cajoling. And if you did cajole them, they'd be a horrendous client for you. Yes, Chris Green, bob on. The people who would have do it themselves would have likely tried to do it themselves anyway. So you can't help people who are in that frame of mind, but you can build your brand off those people where they go, oh, I've got this amazing PDF, showed me how to do this. And they will be your brand advocates. They will be your ambassadors because they get value. But it's the people who struggle, because you have to sell something, there has to be a need. So if you're an expertise-led business, don't stress about giving too much away, because the value for you is in helping them achieve the outcome. It's not in the information. Everything, pretty much all knowledge, yeah, even my knowledge, all knowledge is already available. It's all on the internet. Everything is on the internet. The value is in helping people put it together to get to a result. The value is in ordering the information and learning from experience, not the information itself. Information is now a commodity. Expertise is now the value, getting something done. So land and expand. So this is really good for technology services. Yeah. Often, if you're up against a competitor, there's an unfair advantage on the status quo remaining. Yeah. So if you're trying to sell technology services of any kind or a new service into a company where there's an existing or an incumbent provider, or where the client is going to be asked to do a major purchase. Yeah. Thank you, Samuel. And thank you, Anna. So if there's a major purchase, if there's an incumbent, if there's a purchase where it's unclear how they would benefit from it at that stage, don't sell it. And this land and expand model has been used for ever. Yeah, absolutely used forever. And it's a real simple model. It is this: if you've got, say, a 100K service or a 50K service or a 50K solution or a 10K solution, and you need to prove the value, whether that's against a competitor or something else, you go for a land and expand model. And I'll give you an example. I do these webinars and I am trying to build brand, get message, and also attract the people who have a need. Yeah. Now, if I came to you and said, okay, I can help you get another £500,000 on your revenue in the next 6 months, your belief in me would be based on the limited experience you've had with me. So you might not believe me that I can do that. You might not believe that I can achieve that for you. With a land and expand model, I won't come to you and say, here's my £25,000 package for one-to-one coaching with Dean to double your revenue, or put 500 grand on revenue in the next 6 months. Yeah. I'm not going to come to you and say, here's a 25 grand package, because there's so much for you to consider. Yeah. If you're a sales leader and you go, it's great, Dean, that you've done all of this work, and Maverick's done all this work and put 20 million onto revenue of sales teams in 2 years. That's great. But you're going to ask me for £50,000 to work with your sales team for the next 3 months. How am I going to, I'm not sure I want to punt that right now. So we do a land and expand. So a land and expand is, okay, what do you want to achieve with social media? What's the goals you want to achieve? Okay, we're going to do a workshop with some of your sales team. Land. So the land is the workshop. So the workshop is, we'll teach you in a group of your sales team how to get clients from LinkedIn, how to get conversations on email, personalized, a hyper personalized email. All of this stuff I'm talking about, we'll implement with your sales team, or we'll teach your whole sales team in a customized way. You're getting the generic version. We go dig deep in it's 4 hours as the minimum. We'll do it with their sales team, and we'll show them, and we'll do it in real time. So we'll generate leads in real time. So I'll say that, and I go £5,000, and they go, £5,000 for that. That's not too bad, actually. Land. So the client will sign up for the workshop. Once they've seen the value, we can go back to them and say, hey, you've seen how this works now. You've seen what we did in 4 hours. You've seen the energy that we brought to the sales team. You've seen how we can, we know what we're doing. You've seen the initial results. Why don't we work with your team for the next 3 months? And we'll implement it, not just in 4 hours, consistently every day, until this is a behavior in your sales team. Expand. Everybody get that? Land, expand. Consultancies use this. Lots of people use this as a model to expand a relationship. Start with something small and expand it. When you're up against an incumbent, maybe there's a contract up for renewal in 2 years' time, and you're thinking, how do I do something with this? We worked with a technology company in 2019. And they were in this position where contracts were up for renewal in 3 years and all this kind of stuff. And what we designed was a specific land service that was nothing to do with their core offering. And they went to the market with this land service, which was effectively an audit. So they would go in and support an audit of their customers. And so potential customers. And they would get the opportunity, one, to work with the client, two, to give them some value for a modest cost. I think it was a few grand to do this audit. But also, they had the opportunity to see the failings of the incumbent. So they could, without going, look how bad they are, they could go, in our audit, this is some of the concerns we came across that maybe you want to address with them. When we're working with people, these are some of the issues that we're closing, and I can see that these issues are there. And what you're doing is undermining the credibility, and this is a little bit like ruthless in one sense, but it's business. You're undermining the credibility without just throwing them under the bus, but you're pushing them towards the curb by using an audit to show them the failings. Now, we all have failings. My service has failings. Your service has failings. We all have them. I know we don't like to admit it, but we do. But the reality is, if you're trying to dislodge an incumbent, the client has to be unhappy with something the incumbent's already doing and see a better alternative. That's what's got to happen. But the gravity is always towards the incumbent. You have to change that. The gravity is to stick with what you know. So if you can offer a land service that shows how you could do something better, or perhaps how they could get more value from a different way of doing it, I think it's fair game. So you can leverage and open new sales opportunities. Yeah, I've spelled outmaneuver wrong, so apologies for that. You can outmaneuver your competition or the incumbent, and you can engage the audience using an intent framework. So you can gauge their appetite to move forward. I don't have time to go into the intent framework at the moment, but I'll come back to it. Chris, appreciate you like that. Yes, it does. It does shorten the initial sales cycle because all of the credibility piece is established. So we will always try to do some form of land and expand with a client first. The other good thing about this, by the way, is some clients are nightmares. Yeah. So if you have a limited service, you can gauge who's right for the next service, for the expand. So that's a real good way to gauge and pull it back. Samuel, can you just explain a little bit more about what you're doing? Such as you can't predict the result in terms of values and volumes. Just tell me a little bit more about that and I'll try and answer. I'll just get through the next couple of slides, then we'll do Q&A. So Christos has said, we have to figure out how to do that with a physical product, such as a 10K UPS for a server rooms, maybe for a small rental trial fee. So yes, Christos, you could do a rental or a trial, but that's a lot of hassle. That's a lot of hassle. But what you could do is look at give them an audit or an assessment of their initial backup systems to say, would it cope with the demand of what they're already doing? Yeah. So you could do the compare the market thing for them. Yeah. Chris and I are, what's the word? We're on the same wavelength today. So social selling. Now, I'm going to come to this one because this is a big piece and many people underestimate this because what they're doing is bashing out every time, bash, 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 sales pitches, exactly like email, bash, 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 bash. But we know value is not by, you can't create value by doing a low value activity. Yeah, it's against the laws of physics. It doesn't work. So you can't put less in and get more out. It just doesn't work. So the key here is that social selling is not about soft selling. It's not about being cuddly. It's about building a relationship to make that sales cycle easier. So think about it. If you cold call a client now and they were interested, you'd have a meeting. You've got to build up that relationship. They've got to consider it. They've got to check your credibility. All of that piece has got to happen. And so the idea is that what we're doing is warming that prospect up so they're more trusting of us when we outreach. And that outreach is not just any old person. It's now Dean, or it's Samuel, or it's Christos, or it's Chris. Yeah. Or it's Anna, or it's Rodion, or it's Steve, or it's Lisa, or it's Carl. Yeah. We're just changing the nature of our relationship. Instead of trying to get a lead, get a meeting, and then do the whole relationship piece, let's do the relationship piece first. And combined with hyper-personalized email, combining some of these strategies together gives you a very compelling proposition, because you're not just like everybody else. You've elevated yourself away from the noise of everybody else. I'm surprised how many people are selling high value services, 50 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand, and they're using automation and generic messages. And it's like, are you mad? Are you mad? Are you on planet Earth? You're trying to convince people by sending a template to spend 100 grand with you. Are you mad? It's strange. It's madness. So we talk about priming, which is where you would prime people using social media, engage with them, interact with them, build up a level of rapport, and then you move out onto outreach. Highly effective, because not because it's tech, but because it's a human being thing. People like to buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. So if you know people and they get to know you a little bit better, they start to like you because you're engaging with them and building up that rapport, and they build a bit of trust. Here's one revelation. The more you interact with people and the more people see you in their feeds on social media, the more they trust you. I know that sounds strange, but it's just a common thing of 21st century media exposure life. If you're seen more by the prospect, their level of confidence and trust rises. Not that they trust you with their children, or not that they trust you with their money yet, but it elevates you from anybody else, just a random. It gives you that little bit of an advantage over and above somebody else. The other thing is social selling, and consistently being out there on the platform builds your thought leadership and influence in a digital space. And we all know how the power of thought and leadership influence can have in terms of the sales function, because then people look to you as going, I trust this person, they're an expert in the field, they know what they're doing, and so I'm more confident in doing business with them. Let me give you an example. And this is good for competitive markets. Let's say, for an example, you're serving, I'll come to Samuel and Christos's question again in a second. Let's say you're selling a service that's very similar to your competitor. I was having a discussion this morning with somebody who said, and I said, I think USPs are dead. I think USPs are dead. I think it's very difficult to build a business with a USP now. I think you can have a different angle, but I don't think you can clearly define a USP like you used to, because there's so many businesses doing so many things. So you can have a different emphasis, you can have a different style, you can have a different approach, but a lot of what we do, we call USPs now, don't really matter to customers. They're a differentiator for us to the competition, but they're not really similar. I'll come to the fundraising question in a second. So let me just do this exercise, right? Just do the math on this exercise. There's you and your competitor in the same industry with the same service, or pretty much similar service. Yeah, you might think yours is different, but from the client's eyes, there's not much difference in it. Yeah, you might be different companies, different logos, different values, different ways of doing it, but actually, you know, on paper, there's not much in it. And let's say the price is the same. Let's say the price is £25,000 and your price is £25,000. So same service, same price, different logos, but slightly different approach. How does that customer decide which one to go with? Now, some of you will go, well, the logical argument is to weigh up their service, weigh up their testimonials, weigh up theirs, and decide that way, do a proper analysis. But here's the problem. Human beings aren't logical. And what we do is we find information that supports the way we feel. So if the incumbent's offering 25 grand, similar, very similar, and you're the new challenger and you're offering similar, there will be a bias to better the devil you know. Better the devil you know than making a change. But what do you think the difference is if the prospect sees you as a leader and an expert in the world? Do you think you've got a better chance of securing that deal over and above somebody else if you're seen as an expert by that prospect? Of course you are. Now, if it was a level race and it wasn't an incumbent and you're both together, exactly, Anna, 80% of the deals are made before the meeting. So if you're in a level race with a competitor, they're not the incumbent, and you're charging the same price, and you're seen as the expert, you've got a level of authority higher than the other company. Who do they go with? They go with the people they have the most confidence in, which is usually the expert, the thought leader, all of those things. Even if even if your competence is the same. Just remember, a lot of the thought leaders are not the smartest people in the industry. They're the best marketed people in the industry. Yeah. Now, I'm not getting into the rights and wrongs of that, but a lot of the smartest people in the industry can't communicate at a client level, so they remain not the thought leader. So you can charge more if you are seen as the experts, the leaders, or in the minds of your clients or prospects, but you have to take charge of creating that. So social selling, consistently showing up on social, is a way to do that. Who they like. Yes, Lisa, exactly. Who they like. They choose who they like. So how do you apply these approaches to fundraising? It's very similar. So the webinar, when oddly enough, I worked for a charity and I was brought in and I was asked to raise $30 million a year for fundraising. And one of the biggest motivators to get people to give money, it's the same as sales, actually. You've got to help people see the difference that they can make in the world. People want to do good. Naturally, people want to do good. And you have to show them how their £10 or their $50 can make a difference. So webinars, content marketing, you have to get to the pain points and what's in it for them. And actually, what's in it for them is showing them how their gift, their support can make a difference. So like, I'll give you one quick example. If my $50 gift can keep a charity running for 7 seconds, doesn't mean very much to me. But if my $50 could feed a family for the next 6 weeks, that means a lot to me, because the outcome and the result feels good. I feel like I've made a difference. And a lot of charities need to get this. Some of the big charities really do. People want to be recognized, people want to achieve, and people want to leave a legacy. In other words, they want to make a difference. And so that is appealing. Charities have to appeal to people who want to make a difference. So content marketing, it's kind of an overlap again, but I'll give you the PDF example I gave you earlier, the PDF, the 100K PDF. I'm sharing free resources, adding value. We have a formula of how to do that. And I'm adding value into the worlds of my audience through LinkedIn. And as a result, because I'm adding value, I get their attention. And because I get the attention, I get wider reach. And then I create what we call intent thresholds. I mentioned it earlier. And an intent threshold is where people signal to you that they need your help. And that's the point where you can follow up and engage with them and share more value and get into conversation. We teach it to all of our clients how to use content to generate leads. Even salespeople do it, marketing people do it, solopreneurs do it, business owners do it. But it's seeding the market, and you can grow traffic to a website, to a landing page from social, but you can't do it by just posting corporate stuff. It doesn't work. It has to get to people's needs. It has to resonate, and you have to resonate with the audience, and then you can build a big reach. I'm working with a company in Europe at the moment, a technology company, and they, in the first week of the training, using content marketing, they got 2 inbound inquiries which meet their target audience, one of which they'd pitched through outreach and failed. And then off the content, they connected on LinkedIn, the content that was put on LinkedIn, arranged a meeting, they're on with it. So content has a powerful place in sales. Yeah, but it has to be designed as a sales tool. A lot of content isn't designed as a sales tool. It's designed as a promotion tool. Very different thing. A sales tool is something that helps the salesperson create an opportunity. A content piece for marketing is often about landing a message and building an email list. That's not what sales tools are. And I'm talking about content marketing in a sales tool. So our PDF, my 100K PDF, Even this guide that I'm sharing with you, you can have is a sales tool, because some of you will get it and go, I'm going to do it myself. And some of you will come back for help. But these are 5 really simple things that you can do. They take a little bit of planning, but actually they're repeatable, they're scalable. And my LinkedIn account, I work it every day. My Instagram, I work it every day. I've got now nearly 200 leads from Instagram in 3 months, and I've just started Instagram. I'm getting 200 leads a week from LinkedIn. That's just my own profile, not these events on the company page. So when you start to think about that, you go, wow, why are other people not doing this? Because there's the risk that if I do this activity and it doesn't work, what am I going to do then? And so the big value activity gets parked. The long-term stuff gets parked because of the urgency of the need. And we play the numbers game to try and convert stuff and never really develop that authority, that reach, or the mechanisms to make the sales process easier. So if you want a copy of this, it's free. We're not going to kind of sales pitch you. You literally will email you a copy, london@maverick.io. I'll put the email in the chat. So if you want it, you can get it. So it's there. And quite simply, if you want it, we'll send it to you. A member of the team will email it to you personally. And if you want to chat to us, you can. But I would encourage you to try these stuff. Don't just let this 2 o'clock 1 hour session drift by and you go, oh, I'm done now. Okay, so I'm going to come to Samuel. If any more questions, because we've got about 9 minutes left, any more questions, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them now as we go. So Samuel, I work in banking as a service platform. Now, the result to increase banks' revenues or numbers is based on how customers embrace the banks. How do I pitch a result in terms of values, volumes? So I think if you think, so Samuel, we all know that there's lots of challenger banks out there now. And so banks have this pressure to retain customers. And the deeper the relationship they have with their customers, the less likely they are to change. And so when you're looking at it from that point of view, the big frustration for a lot of banks is the fact that it's so easy for customers to move. It's so easy for customers to change. They can go on a website, get a comparison, and they can have a new account in minutes. So for a bank to want to engage more customers, the customers have to embrace, how do customers embrace the banks? Your platform has to speak to the banks. You've got to convince the banks that what you do will add value. And the only way you can add value is if you show them that if they can embrace the customers, this is the result they can get. Yeah. So as I look at it here, and actually one of our team, Samuel, our managing director in London, has actually been involved in a number of financial startup firms, and he's, I was going to say seasoned, but he might take offense at that. He's a seasoned sales professional in the financial services sector. So it might be worth you having a chat with Simon, Samuel, because he might be useful to you. Yes, Chris, the nurture, the reality is people don't buy off one-hit wonders anymore. There is a process, whether that process is post a cold call or post cold outreach or pre. I believe, and I stand by, that if I can eliminate the cold, it's a speedier process. If I can show value, I almost want to say that if you have the right decision maker and they have a need, the budget or the budget limitations of we don't have budget can be resolved. And I've seen that in FTSE listed companies where you've got the right decision maker, you've got the right need, that actually even unbudgeted items can get pushed through. Why? Because the need's right, the relationship's right, and the decision maker's right. Any other questions, Samuel? What I'll do, Samuel, I'll make sure Simon gets in touch with you after today, and he can set up a time and walk you through some of the stuff that we've done with financial services firms. Any other questions for today's session? Likewise, by the way, if you have questions for me, obviously you can email and ask for the guide and we'll happily send it to you. But if you've got other questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and happily, I'll just come back to you and give you my take. Any other questions? Going once? No? No? So one final thing, and I appreciate wherever you're watching, the likes, the comments, the follows, the subscribes, all the stuff that makes us favorable with the tech gods of social media would be brilliant. And again, if you want to replay, you can email us and we'll send you a copy of the replay. But from me, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you hopefully on another session. We're back next Thursday for another session. But if you need any help, drop us an email, london@maverick.io. Thanks for